A lone man stands on a field of sand. In front of him is a giant scorpion-looking creature with red eyes and way too many teeth. The ugly beast lunges at the man with malicious intent, but the man doesn't seem threatened at all. He jumps on its tail and runs along it, slashing it with his sword as he moves. The monster known as the Scorpion King falls soon after by the hands of our main character, Hyunwoo, who we see walking away from the battle victorious. He is extremely bored and wonders what he is going to hunt next. The world Hyunwoo is currently inside is a game known as Arena. He is the #1 ranked player at this game and goes by the username Melee God. He's set countless records, however on this day he decides that he is going to quit and focus on the real world instead. After permanently resigning from the game, his best friend Youngchin is flabbergasted. How dare his friend stop being a nerd and actually get a life? Hyunwoo calmly explains that he can't just play games forever. Youngchin doesn't stop pestering him though, saying that he could have at least sold all of his items for cash instead of just deleting everything. The arena was never a way to make money for Hyunwoo and was just something he did for fun. He has no regrets about deleting his account, despite just throwing thousands of dollars away like an idiot. He waves goodbye to Youngchin. It's time for him to serve in the military for a while, and then inherit his father's construction business once he gets out. 2 years pass and things didn't work out as planned. Hyunwoo is working at a convenience store, making only around $9 an hour. Who could have guessed that the super rich successor of a wealthy construction company could fall so low? During his final year of military service, the company went completely bankrupt due to his father, who fell seriously ill, and his family was blown to smithereens by the immense debt. Medical bills really are no joke. Spending most of his money to help support his struggling family, Hyunwoo is forced to eat expired convenience store meals just to get by. He wonders how much longer he is going to be able to live like this. Looking down at his phone, he receives a message. It's from his old friend Youngchin, who he has been ghosting for the past couple of years, too embarrassed and insecure to even message him back. Despite not getting replies, Youngchin still messages Hyunwoo regularly to check up on him. Now that's a real friend. The text asks Hyunwoo if he would consider getting back into the arena, and our protagonist thinks that that isn't a bad idea. Arenas are profitable lately. Streamers and pro players easily make 6 figures. Hyunwoo was the #1 ranked player once upon a time. If he can get that back, then he might actually be able to stack some bread. It's such a good idea that he even starts sniffing his finger for some reason. His eyes light up with hope. He quickly heads to the mall to buy the gaming console he needs to play, known as the Arena Cube. His facial expression changes when he realizes it costs 3 times his current monthly wage. Oh well, his father's medical bills can wait because now it is time to game. While he is looking at the console, he is approached by some blonde dude and a girl. Hyunwoo has no idea who this guy is until he reminds him. His name is Hanbik and he is the son of his father's old business partner. Hyunwoo's father is bedridden and his family is doing terribly, yet his old business partner seems to be doing great for himself. Hanbik strolls past Hyunwoo with the girl. While passing, he makes a snide comment about our protagonist's financial situation. Hyunwoo snaps back, asking how this kid knows anything about his family's money problems. With an evil look on his face, Hanbik states that everything that has happened to Hyunwoo's family was all the work of Hanbik's own father. Their 2 fathers were business partners, and the delinquent's father stabbed Hyunwoo's dad in the back after working together for decades. The little punk digs the knife in deeper, telling Hyunwoo that he should go and take care of his dad while he is on his deathbed, since he may not have long left. That was the last straw, and our protagonist hits this kid with a knuckle sandwich, knocking his ass on the floor. We can see the girl he was with in shock and the security rushing over. The security struggle to hold Hyunwoo back as he yells in rage. The reason his father is bedridden and the reason why his life is in ruins is all the work of Hanbik's family. Yelling at the top of his lungs, he says that he is going to kill Hanbik no matter what, which leads to him getting arrested. He doesn't leave the station until later that night. The rain falling to the floor is an accurate metaphor for his current feelings. Not only was Hyunwoo's family betrayed, but the villains have the audacity to go around bragging about it. Fueled by rage and hatred, he vows to himself that he will get revenge. Those feelings quickly turn to sadness and desperation though. Without money, he is too powerless right now to even think about something like revenge. A news production catches his eye. It discusses an arena player that is earning a $500,000 salary, and how the game is having an unbelievable impact on the economy. Hyunwoo is truly desperate, and this could be his only chance at a good life. He finally musters up the courage to call his old friend Youngchin, who answers almost immediately like a true bro. After Youngchin asks why he is calling, Hyunwoo says that he needs help. He's finally getting back into the arena after years away. He wants his title as #1 player back. All hell breaks loose at the arena headquarters when they notice someone has signed up with the great melee god's old user information. An employee communicates with an AI in the game known as Owl and asks how this new player is doing. Owl is the game character that is responsible for guiding players through the arena tutorial. She watches over Hyunwoo in shock as he has set a new record in the power application test. Standing with his fist clenched, Hyunwoo demands to be taken to the next test. He isn't here to waste time. If the arena is the only way for him to change his situation, then so be it. The only reason he is able to play in the arena is thanks to his good friend, who has let him use his arena cube since Hyunwoo can't afford his own. He is extremely grateful and thanks his friend for helping him out. He will for sure pay him back later. Youngchan says that it is no big deal. As long as he doesn't ghost him again, all is okay. Back in the arena, our protagonist continues with the tutorial, swinging his weapon in anticipation. Al has decided to give Hyunwoo a level 10 test according with his registration. Hyunwoo takes a deep breath, preparing himself as it has been a while since he has fought in an arena. His opponent stands before him, a level 10 dark elf warrior. The elf stands with dual-wielding weapons. Hyunwoo is only rank 1, so he should struggle with this fight. Hyunwoo seems pretty chill about things though. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. The dark elf seizes this opportunity to pounce on him, thinking it was a mistake for him to close his eyes. The elf obviously doesn't know he is dealing with the famous melee god. Hyunwoo blocks the attack as if on autopilot. The duel begins. The reason Hyunwoo was able to reach first place previously was because no one could match his level of control. While fighting the elf, he thinks about his recent life and everyone that has been a part of it. He is grateful for Youngchan for letting him use his console, and even offering him a place to stay if he needs it. He feels great despair for his parents, both his ill father and his mother who constantly stays by his side. And finally, he feels a strong desire for vengeance towards Hanbeek. This emotion in particular gives him a lot of motivation in this moment. Hyunwoo finishes his fight with the Dark Elf, telling himself he is going to become a top-ranked arena player at a speed no one can even imagine. The employee at the arena headquarters that has been keeping an eye on him jumps up in shock. A level 1 character that was just created was able to defeat a level 10 Dark Elf warrior. This confirms her belief that the melee god really has returned. Al congratulates our protagonist. The tutorial ends here and he is now able to go into the actual game. The first person he meets is a guy named Del who is the village chief of a place called Aslan. As a reward for completing the tutorial, he gives Hyunwoo a ring containing a giant spirit which increases his strength stat. The ring glistens on his finger almost as bright as his smile, a unique item this early on. He really is off to a great start. Hyunwoo receives an in-game message from Youngchan, who has offered to take him to some high-ranked dungeons to speed up his leveling. Hyunwoo declines his offer for now as there is a specific item he wants to make first. Youngchan smiles to himself, wondering what on earth his friend could be planning to do this early on in the game. In the past there was an item all hardcore arena players used nicknamed an experience potion. It increased a player's experience gain by 20% for 4 hours. This item was extremely valuable and was sold for 3,000 gold apiece, but one day the supplier disappeared and the item eventually faded from people's memories. That's because the supplier was Hyunwoo. He's still the only one who knows how to make experience potions, so if he sold them at an auction he could name any price he wanted. He is currently trying to collect the ingredients to create one of these potions, but is struggling with the final one. He debates whether or not he should go into a dungeon to get it. When he attempts to enter one, he is stopped by a purple-haired guy who is a member of the Black Skull Guild. He says that this dungeon belongs to his guild and so Hyunwoo cannot enter. This is the only place Hyunwoo can get the ingredient he needs, so he pushes past the man, determined to go and get it. The purple-haired guy draws his sword and holds it up to Hyunwoo's neck, calling him a newbie and telling him to leave. His whole life depends on this game and he doesn't want to waste a single second. He decides to make a bet with the guy. The two of them will fight and whoever loses has to delete their entire character and start over. This guy is dumbfounded as to how a new player could be so cocky and confident. He accepts the bet thinking it will be an easy fight. Hyunwoo tells the guy to say his final goodbyes to his character as he pulls a sword out of his inventory. It doesn't take long for the duel to begin and the two players charge towards each other with their weapons in hand. Our protagonist's sword swipes just by the guy's face and he wonders just where a noob was able to get such agility and speed. Hyunwoo blocks his attacks with ease, which makes him question his own level. The guy is definitely much higher though. Then the purple-haired guy begins to think that he may have a unique item. He seemed way too relaxed earlier to be a newbie. He finally manages to strike him, but Hyunwoo stands there unfazed by the attack that hits his shoulder. When Hyunwoo strikes back, the guy seems unaffected. He must have blocked his sense of pain to not feel an attack like that. This fight was easier than Hyunwoo expected, and he slashes his weapon at the purple-haired guy, ready to end things soon. How is he getting overpowered by a noob like this? Who the hell is this guy and why is he so strong? While the guy is distracted by such baffling thoughts, Hyunwoo comes in for a devastating attack. He needs to block this. Much to his own shock, he stands motionless and Hyunwoo's attack lands with no problems. Since he was blocking his pain, he didn't know the state of his own body. He was too injured and exhausted to even move. Stretching his arms up high, Hyunwoo checks out all the new items he has won from this duel and prepares himself to enter the dungeon to get the ingredients he needs. After getting the final ingredient, he heads to a workshop. We see a large blue capsule. This thing automatically makes items for players. However, it cannot compensate for skill. Only being able to use it once a month, Hyunwoo decides to make his experience potion, giving a player a 20% increase for the next 4 hours. He holds it up in the air and admires the fruits of his labors. Now it is time for him to go and earn some money. On this day, the experience potion entered the arena store for the first time in a long time. Everyone is shocked at the sight of it, and there is only one. The scarcity of the item caused players from all over to go to the store and bid on the potion. This resulted in the price of the potion increasing exponentially. 6 months, the highest price it sold for was 3,000, but it ended up being sold for 5,000 gold this time. Walking down the street, Hyunwoo thinks to himself, 1 gold is around $1. With 5,000 gold, he can pay his father's hospital bills and his living expenses, and then he will still have around 2,000 gold left. No matter what path he takes, whether it be a streamer or a pro gamer, he needs to increase his rank and combat power. He also needs better equipment. Using his 2,000 leftover gold effectively, he decides to get the most practical equipment instead of what looks the best. He purchases himself a sword and some armor, all of which are pretty rare items with good stats. Del, the village chief, looks over in shock, noticing that Hyunwoo has changed a lot since the last time he saw him a short while ago. He gets looks from people in the streets who wonder if he joined a cult or something to progress that fast. Despite the gear's stats, it looks ridiculous. A green shirt, yellow sword, and red trousers, dude is a walking traffic light. Slightly embarrassed by his appearance, Hyunwoo's face turns the same color as his trousers. He asks Del to give him a quest. A pack of wolves with red eyes, white fur, and razor-sharp fangs. These monsters look terrifying, but Hyunwoo wastes no time getting to work. With his increased stats, he feels a lot lighter on his feet. Expensive items really are worth it. His quest is over almost immediately. After slaying 15 wolves, he stops worrying about his appearance, since the gear is obviously extremely effective. He's not in this game for fun. Every minute and every second of his time needs to be spent on earning money. His goal is to reach level 10 by today, so he heads over to a goblin dungeon. Lots of other people had the same idea, and the place is crowded. A strong-looking man is recruiting melee players for his dungeon party, and Hyunwoo approaches him asking if he can join. At first he says yes, but then he begins to scratch his chin and takes a second thought. He tells Hyunwoo that his party is advanced and Hyunwoo should go and join a newbie party instead since he is such a low rank. Clenching his fist, he walks away, cursing the player. Even without a high level, he can deal with an enemy like goblins easily. A blonde woman approaches him and asks if he has any experience with the goblin dungeon. It's her party's first time in a dungeon, so she is looking for someone with experience. She asks if he would like to join her party, and Hyunwoo accepts, saying he will gladly carry her through the dungeon like a simp. The other party members look at our protagonist with expressions of disappointment and disgust. The cute girl suggests that everyone introduces themselves. She is a level 20 princess called Somi. Hyunwoo lies through his teeth and tells the party that he is a level 20. Luckily, his stats are hidden, so they have no idea. Starting from the left, the other players introduce themselves. Their levels are all in the 20s and they are different classes: a warrior, an archer, and a mage. Noticing that Hyunwoo doesn't have any resistance items, the party ask him if he is going to be okay in this dungeon, and Hyunwoo assures them he has good mechanics, so he will be. They stand at the entrance to the dungeon, a dark and gloomy cave. Inside are ugly-looking goblins with weapons and shields ready to attack right away. The warrior Jinwoo stands at the front of the party telling his members to get ready. Holding hollow tubes up to their mouths, the goblins begin shooting things at the party. Jinwoo raises his shield to block these attacks, yelling at his team to protect themselves. They follow his orders. The mage Jia readies her magic, and the archer Cheolman draws back his arrow ready to fire. Magic lights up the goblins like the 4th of July. and the arrows rain down on them like snow. Looking over, Hyunwoo is impressed. Despite being nervous about the dungeon, his party is holding up well. They are such a good team, it's like they didn't even need him as a member. Everyone plays their part so well. After hunting goblins for an hour, things calm down for a moment, and the group takes a quick breather. The party comments on Hyunwoo's skill, saying he was pretty good out there and that he must be using some amazing item. Somi suggests that they rest well. They need to make sure they are ready to challenge the hobgoblin later like they planned. Hyunwoo is shocked to hear their worry and asks if they have ever fought the hobgoblin boss before. Jinwoo is the only one who has, and the others are inexperienced. The hobgoblin is a pretty hard boss for players in the low-level 20s. It's also been a while since Hyunwoo has defeated one too. The party begins to discuss strategy. The party looks over to the young archer Cheolman, jokingly asking him not to shoot them in the back. Cheolman replies that he doesn't make mistakes like that anymore while smiling awkwardly. They move through the dungeon until they reach the boss room. The hobgoblin sits in his throne with his lower-ranked minions standing between him and the entrance. The team proceeds forward. Somi provides buffs to her party. Cheolman and Jia use their distance attacks, while Hyunwoo and Jinwoo lead the charge at the front of the line. The goblins attack and the men do their best to defend themselves in close-range combat. With the buffs from Somi, it's not too difficult. The hobgoblin raises his hand and something seems to be emitting from it. Hyunwoo yells out to Jinwoo, telling him to dodge the incoming attack, but Jinwoo doesn't react in time. He is hit by the boss's dark ball attack, which sends him flying backwards into a nearby wall. It will be troublesome if this enemy uses another dark ball attack, so Hyunwoo needs to attack it before it does it again. He asks his team for support, but the team are shocked by what happened to Jinwoo and stand there watching. Hyunwoo cuts through the low-rank goblins before him, wondering what on earth his party is doing and why they are just watching. The hobgoblin begins to prepare another magic attack in his hands, and it looks like Hyunwoo isn't going to make it in time. As he is charging towards the boss, a rogue arrow comes flying out of nowhere and almost hits him. Hyunwoo blocks the arrow and it ricochets off his sword, striking the boss in its eye as it lets out a howling scream. The arrow came from Cheolman, who apologizes for almost hitting our protagonist, who has a frustrated look on his face. While the hobgoblin is distracted by the pain, Hyunwoo takes the opportunity to slice his arm off. Losing an arm and an eye, it's really not this guy's day. Hyunwoo calls out to his teammates once again for help. This time they listen and hit the boss with a flurry of magic and arrow attacks, defeating him. The party stands before Hyunwoo with smiles on their face, since it was him that did all of the work. Hyunwoo looks at the items dropped by the boss and wonders if he should take them all for himself. The party all have friendly faces and seem nice, but Hyunwoo is worried that they will kill him if he is too greedy. He decides to just take one item, a random pet egg, and leaves the rest for his party. With important stuff to do, Hyunwoo walks away and says goodbye. The party asks if he wants to do this again sometime, but Hyunwoo just scurries off. He is worried about potential backstabbers and decides that he can't take things easy. After leaving the dungeon, he sees that he managed to achieve his goal of reaching level 10, and now he can finally get a class advancement. He stands in front of a large tower with his hands on his hips. This is the class tower, or as it is better nicknamed, the Tower of Advancement. Each floor represents a different class you can advance in. It's kind of like a department store. It's a must-have for players who manage to reach level 10. Hyunwoo holds the pet egg he just received in his hand. It can drop a random pet, which could be anything from a rabbit to a dragon. He needs to wait 1 hour for the egg to hatch. He decides that with this spare time he is going to get himself a new class. He looks up at the tower in deep thought about what he is going to choose. Inside the tower, he enters the warrior class floor and is approached by the warrior manager named Khan. Hyunwoo is here to become a warrior, and Khan is happy to hear it, saying it is a wise choice. The warrior class is different from the lousy other classes on the lower floors. Khan will decide whether or not Hyunwoo deserves to become a warrior with a single fight. They both get their weapons ready, and Khan says he will let Hyunwoo make the first move to be fair. After telling Hyunwoo to come at him, our protagonist doesn't refuse and does what he says. The attack comes in strong and Khan blocks it. He thinks to himself that the attack was strong and Hyunwoo must be familiar with the sword. Clearly he is different to the other players that come to his floor trying to be a warrior. He is more than qualified to join his class. The attacks keep coming and Khan keeps blocking them, smiling at the impressive strength of our protagonist. He's still a noob who hasn't gained a proper class though, and when Khan strikes back it catches Hyunwoo off guard and knocks him to the ground. Despite being good, he is clearly lacking the skill to defeat someone like Khan. When Khan goes for a second attack, Hyunwoo blocks it with his foot and then counters his attack almost immediately. Such an occurrence is shocking to Khan, Not only did he block, but he also launched a counter-attack at the same time. There's a natural flow to Hyunwoo's movement that doesn't follow traditional swordplay. Hyunwoo comes in for another attack whilst the warrior class manager wonders if this is what is called natural talent. Just as Hyunwoo is about to land a deathly attack, the manager yells out to stop, saying he is more than qualified to become a warrior. He admits that Hyunwoo is amazingly skilled and he grants him permission to join the warrior class. Joining this new class gives him new skills, all of which relating to close-range combat and using his sword. Before the two-part Khan throws a coin towards Hyunwoo, telling him that once he is sure of his power, Hyunwoo should go and find the owner of the coin. The coin is a new quest to meet a knight known as Lebron when he is ready. The reward for the quest is something called Lebron's skill. Lebron is someone who leads an army in the arena and is the strongest knight in his empire. A smile radiates on Hyunwoo's face when he realizes by completing this quest he will receive the skill of the strongest knight in the empire. Not wanting to waste any more time, he exits the tower, wondering why he was given this hidden quest but not complaining. The quest is an E rank though, so he will have to reach around level 50 before he is able to go and do it. By now an hour has passed and his random pet egg is about to hatch. Holding it in his hand, he wonders what he is going to get. He has been pretty lucky today, so it is probably going to be something good. Part of him wants a dragon, but another part of him knows it will be a lot to care for. He almost dies from anticipation. The egg finally hatches and out pops a cute little fluffy bear. Hyunwoo is speechless at the sight of his new pet. The bear can even talk, which leaves our protagonist even more dumbfounded. A talking pet is something he has never heard of, so it must be unique. He begins to wonder if he can earn money by making it perform. Much to his surprise, the bear jumps on his shoulders and starts pulling at his hair, demanding that he moves forward. Not happy about being bossed around by some little bear, Hyunwoo grabs it. He throws his new pet in anger, saying that it needs to be taught a lesson. The bear isn't happy, saying how dare Hyunwoo do this to the heir of Buzzing Sands. He then insults our protagonist, saying that he clearly never gets any girls. This only leads to the bear getting more of a punishment from Hyunwoo. The bear is currently level 5 and Hyunwoo decides to name him Tangy. Tangy wants to hang out with his new master, but Hyunwoo logs out of the game, leaving him alone after he was only hatched a few minutes ago. Back in the real world, Hyunwoo exits the arena cube, taking a deep breath. He was in there for a long time today. Youngchin enters the room and asks our protagonist what he has achieved today. His friend is surprised to hear he already has a class and pet. He says that with those things he can already start preparing his streamer debut. A vacant expression appears on Hyunwoo's face when he realizes his friend is right and he starts to consider it. A job as a streamer pays pretty well these days. Youngchin tells Hyunwoo that there is something he needs him to do. He wants our protagonist to record the game every time he plays, that way he can use the clips to make a promotional video to post on the world arena. Hyunwoo smiles awkwardly. Although it sounds nice, being a streamer is easier said than done. But Youngchin insists he will help and offers to be his manager. If the former #1 ranked player starts streaming, surely people will want to watch. A smile of hope appears on Hyunwoo's face as he promises that he will try to live up to his friend's high expectations. Sometime later, back in the game, he comes across a bunch of dark elves. Hyunwoo looks down to Tangy as this is their first battle together. He is expecting a lot from his new pet. Looking down at his sword, Hyunwoo has a face of shock as it starts glowing green. It is revealed that Tangy has put a buff on it known as Spirit of the Bear, increasing its strength and constitution. Hyunwoo looks back at his new pet. He thought the bear was a tank pet and is confused to find out it is actually a buff pet. The Dark Elves try to attack him while he is distracted, but of course it doesn't work and he ends their subscriptions to life. To think that his new pet could increase his strength, constitution and defense stats as well as give him a continuous recovery buff. He's actually pretty useful. Hyunwoo continues to deal with more of the Dark Elves. A dark figure can be seen hiding in the trees, spying on our protagonist. It is revealed that there is actually a whole party of people there who are looking for their next victim. The party look over at Hyunwoo and discuss his gear, saying it is expensive, and discuss how they are going to steal it. One of the party makes a comment that our protagonist looks like he is pretty good at fighting, so they should be careful. The other party members think she is an idiot. There is no way he is over level 20 and he is severely outnumbered. They are experienced thieves who will make quick work of our protagonist. Hyunwoo becomes tired after fighting all of the Dark Elves and wipes his forehead. He's recorded his fighting like he said he would. However, defeating a Dark Elf isn't really all that impressive. His pet bear makes a comment towards Hyunwoo. In frustration, he grabs out of Tangi's head and begins punishing him again as the villainous party approaches. They put on friendly faces and ask Hyunwoo if he is alone and if so would he like to join their party. It's nice for them to see another player out here in the forest. Hyunwoo notices that they seem like an experienced party, so he wonders why they would even want him to join. Furthermore, it seems like they're all wearing level 20 gear, and one of them even has a sword that has to be at least level 40. The fact that they're hiding their level and approaching our protagonist means that they are players who kill other players. Hyunwoo smiles as this may be an opportunity for him. Hyunwoo accepts their invitation to join their party, and they begin to introduce themselves. Without wanting to tell them his real name, Hyunwoo introduces himself as Youngchan and acts friendly towards the villains. They are approached by even more elves and proceed to work as a party to take them out. However, Hyunwoo just uses his party as a human shield, hiding behind them discreetly, then popping out every now and again to unleash a flurry of attacks, only to then go back to hiding behind his party members. The party members are strong, and so this makes monster hunting easy. His skill proficiency is going up leaps and bounds. 1 hour later, the party begin to get frustrated. All Hyunwoo is doing is hiding behind them, and they realize he is just using them. Even when they try to sneakily attack our protagonist, he just dodges it easily. The party privately talk, wondering how long they are going to have to keep up this act before they can just rob Hyunwoo. Tangi overhears them talking about how they are going to kill Hyunwoo just for his expensive items. He tells everything to his master, how they are planning to stab him in the back while they are fighting the boss. Hyunwoo has leveled up quite a lot because of them, and his tasks are done, so he is planning on stabbing them in the back first. By recording such an act, it could get him a ton of views, as players that kill other players generally aren't very popular. His expression becomes evil. The party comes out from their private discussion and apologizes to our protagonist for making him wait so long. They say they are going to hunt the boss now and ask if Hyunwoo wants to come with them. Hyunwoo comments that he probably wouldn't be of much help against a boss and would probably just get in the way. The party say that this is nonsense. He has such high attack stats and they couldn't have made it this far without him. Knowing their plan, Hyunwoo laughs and goes along with their proposition to fight the boss. Hyunwoo makes a cocky comment saying he is going to carry the party during the boss battle. The members of the party, now frustrated, just can't wait to finally kill him. They head to the boss battle and begin fighting against the elves and the elf chief. The elf chief proves to not be a joke, and the party struggles against him a little. One of the members, named Cal, gets sent flying backwards by one of the attacks. The boss mocks him, saying that if he came to the Black Forest to test his strength, he should at least be somewhat strong upon arrival. Cal wonders to himself why this boss is so hard to defeat when he is level 40. Even if he is wearing low-level gear, it should be a piece of cake. The party continue fighting the boss, waiting for the signal from their leader to finally pounce on Hyunwoo. A buff is used on all of the party members, which is the signal to attack. The archer draws back an arrow that has the ability to paralyze whoever is hit with it and aims it at Hyunwoo. However, Tangi appears behind him and breathes into his ear softly, which distracts him. This causes him to miss his shot, and the arrow strikes his own teammate Cal right in the cheeks. The archer apologizes to Cal, who is clearly very angry about the whole situation. Cal falls to the floor paralyzed, and Hyunwoo also apologizes for the actions of his pet, saying that he is just a playful little rascal. This whole situation distracts the party as they are approached by the elf chief boss. He grabs one of the members named Crawford by the neck and lifts him into the air. Letting their guard down isn't a luxury that belongs to the weak. Hyunwoo charges towards the two of them, telling the boss to let go of Crawford. To everyone's surprise, Hyunwoo actually attacks Crawford instead of the boss, piercing him in the side of his stomach. Bleeding out, Crawford asks why. Why would he attack him instead of the boss? Hyunwoo comments that this is the ultimate move, a backstab. The party has flabbergasted expressions, wondering what he thinks he is doing. Hyunwoo says that they should know when they're trying to backstab someone, that the very same thing could end up happening to them. The elf boss also is just standing there. He has never seen something like this happen before and is enjoying the tea. The party attack our protagonist in rage. They have been found out and need to defend themselves. Leaving the boss, Hyunwoo runs at them, dodging their attacks and preparing to retaliate using his own. The boss looks over to Cal, who is still paralyzed on the floor. Furious, he says that if he could just move, this fight would be a piece of cake. The elf boss silences him, saying that the defeated should have no words. Hyunwoo is taking on the two other party members all by himself, and they are struggling despite being a much higher level than him. The elf boss watches, thinking that this human looks extremely interesting and unlike anything he has seen before. Our protagonist stands victorious after defeating the villains. They were just leveled higher, and their skills were pathetic. It won't be easy trying to draw people's attention if his opponents are weak, but at least he got a funny video out of it. Now he just needs a strong opponent who he can actually show off his skills against. He looks over to the elf chief. He smiles to himself. A level 20 player defeating a dark elf chief would make the video perfect. The battle between the two of them commences as they run at each other. The scene cuts to after the battle and Hyunwoo shows the video footage to Youngchan, who states that Hyunwoo is pretty lucky to encounter guys like that. All the kills he got today dropped him quite a few good items, and the video he recorded seems like it will be pretty awesome. They just need to find a proper video editor, and they can get this show on the road. Hyunwoo wants to know more about what his friend plans to do as his manager, but Youngchan keeps quiet, saying that he will find out soon enough. A document is printed out with the title, "Make Hyunwoo a Star Project, The Return to 1%. Looking online, Youngchan struggles to find any decent editors. They are either really bad or unreachable. He wonders whether he should increase the wage to try and attract more people. Eventually, he stumbles on someone with the username Ellis Movies. He thinks to himself that he has finally found the editor. They are a little expensive, but they would be a perfect fit. She is a girl named Ellis who is a video editor known to be a ghost among content creators. Ellis invests careful attention into every single frame of a video and uses meticulously chosen background music. With color gradients that would catch the eyes of any viewer, they truly are one of the best, even earning the nickname the virtuoso of video editing. We see this video editor looking at the clips that her various clients have sent over. Many of them she insults, calling them trash. She stumbles upon the request from Youngchan and recognizes his name. Watching the video he sent over, her eyes grow wide at how amazing it is. She gets replies to the job offer, knowing that the whole story of Hyunwoo killing that villainous party and the elf boss will make a great video. She says she will become Melee God's best fan from now on and raise him up to the main stage of Arena. Back with Hyunwoo, he suddenly gets chills down his spine. He wonders if it is because enemies are close by, but he can't see anything. He decides that whatever caused the chills isn't important right now and inspects an item in his hand. It was dropped by the party he just defeated. It is a rare random skill book that grants the player that uses it a random rare grade skill. He can sell it for a lot of money, or he can use it to obtain a skill. Scratching his head, he struggles to decide what to do and asks his pet Tangy for help. In the end, he decides to use the item, since it's not like he bought it with his own money, so he has nothing to lose by using it. The book grants him the skill Blood for Blood, which allows him to ignore 10% of his opponent's defense. He celebrates with Tangy as this is a good skill that will come in great use during battles. A few days later, his video is uploaded onto the internet, showing how he backstabbed the party that was originally trying to backstab him. The responses were outstanding, especially from users that have been attacked by similar parties in the past. It doesn't take long for the video to pass 150,000 views. Youngchan knew that Ellis was the right video editor to choose. They are also editing for them at a lower rate, meaning that they must like Hyunwoo to be doing them that favor. An older gentleman is sitting at a desk. He is the Nike business team manager named Kale, and he watches Hyunwoo's video and enjoys it. Towards the end, he is even more surprised to see that it finishes with a battle against an elf boss. Hyunwoo dodges the many attacks of the high-ranked boss as if they are nothing to him. The fight doesn't even seem like a struggle, and Kale is impressed. The user at that level easily defeating a dark elf chief with his fine control. This player has what it takes to be a star. He decides that he wants to sign our protagonist with Nike and contact the channel owner for more information. Back in the game, there is a line of orcs ready for battle. Hyunwoo is not taking a break and is constantly fighting enemies with the help of his pet. He's ranking up a lot faster than he did on his first run. With all his knowledge this time around, things are a lot easier. But since he is late to the game, he needs that advantage to climb the ranks quickly. After all the enemies he has slain so far, he is currently level 24, and low-rank enemies are a piece of cake for him now. He isn't the only one that has ranked up, and Tangy is now level 15. Among the pets Hyunwoo has seen, each one has a different stat increase per level. Seeing how fast his pet's stats have been increasing, he knows that Tangy is unique. His buffs are great, and he should also be able to tank later. Even if he is a little annoying, he is at least useful. They begin looting the defeated bodies of the orcs, looking for any items they can find. One of the orcs have dropped a necklace, and Hyunwoo is shocked. He has never seen an item like this dropped by an orc before. The necklace gives him a new quest called the Heir of the Meadow Wolf Tribe. He looks at the item in confusion. The quest is a delivery quest, and Hyunwoo must deliver the necklace to a raccoon. However, in order for the raccoon to appear, he must first defeat a boss monster known as the Meadows Champion. Hyunwoo has a perplexed look on his face. The Meadows Champion will be pretty hard to defeat, and the raccoon is probably just an NPC. A quest and an NPC he has never heard of seems amazing. It's a D-grade quest, so he has to be at least level 30 and has a few more levels to go. Not wanting to stand around doing nothing, he grabs Tangy and gets to work. It's time for him to grind. Not long later he gets frustrated. It's taking too long for him to level up alone. After spending so much time hunting enemies, he has only increased his rank by 1. Playing with a party would help him to level up much faster, but he needs to find people that he can actually trust and won't stab him in the back. His thoughts are interrupted by something that sounds like a bomb, and he assumes it is magic. A battle is going on close by where someone is using magic attacks on an orc. It's a lone player who is a mage. His name is Mason and he has blonde hair and a blue cape. He's quite strong and manages to take out the orc without any problems whatsoever. However, his mana runs out too quickly and all his potions are almost gone. He considers just giving up for today. There is a limit to how much a mage can hunt alone. Suddenly, a figure appears behind Mason and begins talking to him. Seeing someone else in this secluded place scares him for a second. He thinks that it is a monster, and when he turns around he immediately fires a magic attack without thinking. The person is Hyunwoo and he just about manages to dodge the attack that scorches his shoulder. Mason apologizes to our protagonist, but Hyunwoo insists that it was his fault for appearing out of nowhere. Mason asks if Hyunwoo needs anything. He notices he is dressed like a traffic light and is walking around with a teddy bear. It's a weird sight for sure. Thinking that his magic power and casting skills are quite good, Hyunwoo proposes that the two of them form a party since they are both alone. Mason is on edge and doesn't want to get stabbed in the back by any players, but he also knows that it is hard hunting alone. In the end, he agrees to form a party with Hyunwoo, who smiles that he finally has someone to hunt with. Elsewhere in the forest, we see more orcs challenging players to battles. A knight in large armor carrying a heavy sword is fighting these orcs. His name is Sean and he is a member of the Black Skull Guild, the same guild as the purple-haired guy from the start. He is joined by other guild members, one of which is a woman named Gain, and also a younger member named Junwoo. With purple hair, he is excited as this is his first time being carried. His account was deleted in an accident before, and now the guild is helping him return to his previous rank by letting him tag along on adventures. The reason he lost his account before was all because of a character deletion bet he lost against a newbie. This newbie was Hyunwoo, and Junwoo is the same purple-haired guy he fought earlier. Junwoo is determined to get his rank back and get revenge on Hyunwoo with the help of his guild. The guild begin to become impatient as they are not finding many orcs out and about. At this rate, they will never help Junwoo rank up. Finally, they manage to catch one just as it is spawning in. Junwoo rushes towards it, finally getting a kill after a while of finding nothing. The reason there aren't many orcs is because Mason and Hyunwoo are out defeating them all as a party. The two of them have a system where Hyunwoo gets the attention of the orcs and then Mason uses his long-range attacks to take them out. All they have been doing is rinsing and repeating this method, and they are both leveling up at a much faster rate. Looking to the side, they too see an orc about to spawn in. Hyunwoo offers to deal with it so Mason can conserve his mana. With his sword in hand, he charges at the orc, confident that it poses no threat. After defeating it, he looks up and sees Junwoo, who is also running towards the very same orc. Hyunwoo immediately recognizes him from the character deletion bet. Our protagonist reacts quickly by unleashing a leg kick to Junwoo's face. When he falls to the floor, Hyunwoo apologizes, acting innocent, pretending he thought Junwoo was a monster. Junwoo is aided to his feet by his guild members. He stumbles to regain his composure and get his words out. Eventually, he looks straight up, informing his guild that Hyunwoo was the guy that made him delete his character earlier. Hyunwoo stands wondering what is going to happen next, and Mason stands with no idea what is happening. Junwoo points at our protagonist, making accusations whilst everyone stands around. Mason asks Hyunwoo if he knows this person, and he replies that he is just an idiot friend of his that lost a character deletion bet and is now salty. This just makes Junwoo even more angry. He says that with two guild executives alongside him today, he will pay for what he did. One of the guild executives, called Gain, tells him to calm down. She also says the same thing to Hyunwoo and adds that he shouldn't test her patience. Hyunwoo seems unbothered and says he is not scared of their stupid guild, whatever it is called. Mason is worried and whispers to our protagonist. These guild members look at least level 60 and he doesn't want to get hurt. Hyunwoo just advises him to not get involved if a duel does end up happening. The guild executives seem pretty chill about the whole situation and prepare to leave. However, Junwoo gets angry, saying that if they leave he will report them to their higher-ups. These people just insulted their guild and it would be improper to just walk away and not punish them. The other executive, Sean, smacks Junwoo across the face with his comically large sword. causing Junwoo's face to become distorted like a fish. He hits the floor and the guild executives stand over him. They realize that if they did kill Hyunwoo, then there would be more orcs around for them to level up. They begin to consider it. Hyunwoo doesn't back down from a duel and once again offers a character deletion bet. Whoever loses has to delete their player. Dumbfounded by this newbie's arrogance, the guild masters accept the bet under the condition that it is a captain battle. A captain battle is when two people from each side duel. After the duel, the winner remains and the loser is replaced by another member of their team. The side that runs out of people first is considered the loser. The first duel is between Hyunwoo and Sean, who eagerly approaches our protagonist wanting to finally shut him up and end this in one hit. Hyunwoo is a much lower level and so replies that instead of beating Sean with one hit, he will win by dealing 10 hits. Sean has had enough of his talking and comes at him with his heavy armor and sword. The attack is dodged by Hyunwoo, who also manages to make a cut on his opponent even through his armor. He says that's one and there is only 9 more to go as everyone watches the battle in surprise. Now that Sean is angry, he recklessly swings at our protagonist, desperate to hit him with anything, as one shot will surely end the fight. Hyunwoo is like water though and flows through his attacks. Sean only gets more frustrated when he sees none of his attacks are landing. He should have him beat in level and items. How can there be this much of a difference between them? Hyunwoo retorts, everyone thinks they can win just because they are at a higher level, but levels and items don't matter here and won't guarantee victory in battle. Even if someone is a lower level than you, there is still a way they can damage you. He lands another attack on Sean, which is his third so far. His plan is to make Sean bleed from multiple wounds. It takes some time, but you can take out a user of any level with this method. The duel is over before Sean knows it and Hyunwoo stands over his body. He moves his finger signaling to the other guild executive that it's her turn to fight now. This next battle turned out to be completely one-sided in favor of Hyunwoo. Gain was too intimidated by our protagonist's skills and was defeated without even being able to land a single hit. Thus only one challenger remained, the purple-haired guy Junwoo, who is the reason for all of this happening. He has a worried expression on his face. He spent all this time leveling up his brand new character, but he is going to have to delete it and start all over again. Just looking at Junwoo reminds our protagonist of his arch-enemy, Handik. They are both arrogant and spoilt and even have a similar look. This just makes Hyunwoo want to punish him even more. He points to the floor, telling the purple-haired guy to beg. If he does, then he may show mercy and spare his life. Junwoo begins to freak out, knowing he doesn't stand a chance. The game senses that he has increased anxiety and a rapid heartbeat. The system decides to award him by allowing him to enter a berserk state. His eyes turn red with rage as he unleashes a powerful roar. Using this rage, he gets the confidence to run straight at our protagonist with no thought of defeat, just revenge. Hyunwoo remains calm. He always knew this guy was the type of person to get riled up way too quickly. He pulls his fist back and uses his giant strength ability, increasing his damage for a short time. The fist lands right in Junwoo's face and knocks him into the ground with great force. So much for his stupid berserk ability. The duel ends right then and there, with victory being given to Hyunwoo. Due to winning, he receives all the items of his opponents and he can barely contain his excitement. These players just keep giving him their items. This is way better than hunting monsters. Mason runs over, still in shock from the 3 battles that his new friend just won. He says that it is so cool that he was able to defeat someone of a higher level with just his technique. His eyes light up with admiration as he says that he is going to become Hyunwoo's #1 fan. The two of them get back to hunting for the day. At the end of the day, Mason sends a friend request to our protagonist. Hunting together was a huge help to them both and they should do it again sometime. Hyunwoo agrees and accepts the friend request while saying goodbye to Mason. From the work he did today, he was able to reach level 31. There aren't many innocent kids like Mason in this game, and Hyunwoo is grateful for his help. He has a feeling that the two of them are going to get along well in the future. Tangi is exhausted from doing so much work and wants to rest, but Hyunwoo doesn't have time for all of that. He is now a high enough level to attempt the quest he received earlier, titled the Heir of the Meadow Wolf Tribe. He needs to defeat the boss known as the Meadow Champion. Boss monsters usually spawn randomly in their area with a respawn time of around 12 hours. Hyunwoo gets angry when he sees that the boss still hasn't appeared since he has been playing for well over 12 hours. Tangi begs his master to rest. He is exhausted and can barely even walk. Hyunwoo begins to agree. He is tired too. They see a door sticking out of the bottom of a tree, and they think it might be a good place to rest. The door confuses Hyunwoo as he doesn't remember seeing it there before. Upon approaching it, they discover it is the door to the boss they need to defeat. Tangi is upset as he wanted to rest, but Hyunwoo is overjoyed that he can keep progressing in the game. Eager to get started, he enters through the door with a smile on his face, bumping straight into a tall enemy with six-pack abs. Hyunwoo's head is at the same level as this guy's stomach. This is the Meadow champion he is looking for, and his name is Dakin. It's definitely a threatening sight, and the boss demands to know what Hyunwoo is doing here. Hyunwoo doesn't think he will be able to defeat this guy at his current level. He nervously holds the necklace up, saying he must deliver it to a raccoon. Dakin attempts to grab a hold of the necklace, but our protagonist pulls away at the last second. This happens repeatedly for a while, the boss trying to grab the necklace and Hyunwoo trying to keep a hold of it. Dakin gets frustrated, telling him to hand it over if that's what he is here for. Hyunwoo insists on handing it over to the raccoon himself, since that's what his quest states. Dakin states that if he wants to meet this raccoon, he must first prove that he has some amount of power. He is going to test our protagonist to make sure he is strong enough. Beginning almost immediately, Dakin grabs a hold of Hyunwoo's head with one hand, like a basketball. He lifts him into the air and throws him across the room like it is nothing. Before Hyunwoo can react, he is already charging at him with his sword in hand. A swing strikes the floor, shattering it from the sheer force of the blow. When the dust clears, Dakin looks down, and to his surprise he no longer sees Hyunwoo. The floor is empty. Our protagonist advances out of the smoke, hoping to get a counter-attack using the element of surprise. It doesn't work very well though, and Dakin sees through his attempts, blocking and countering them with little effort. Level 31 is still incredibly weak, and Hyunwoo knows this guy is far too strong for him to defeat. Dakin stands tall, unimpressed with our protagonist's performance. If he wants to meet the raccoon, then he is going to have to do better. He asks if this is all Hyunwoo has to offer. With his health at a low state, Hyunwoo begins to pick himself up off the floor with ambition in his eyes. He hasn't used all his power yet. He summons Tangy to the battle and asks him to provide some buffs. Tangy is annoyed as he was trying to get some rest and is already back fighting again after 5 minutes. The two argue for a short while. Amidst the arguing, Dakin is surprised to see Tangy and recognizes him. The fact that Dakin and Tangy know each other is news to Hyunwoo, who struggles to believe it. But it's true. Dakin has had enough of chatting though and stomps his foot on the floor. This is the middle of a test, and Hyunwoo needs to pass if he wants to meet the raccoon. Tangy provides Hyunwoo with the buffs he needs to fight again. He doesn't think they will be enough, but at least he's stronger than before. He runs at Dakin with a green glowing effect around his body as the two prepare to face off again. This confidence doesn't last for long though, and Hyunwoo is knocked to the ground once again. Dakin asks if he gives up. Angry with himself, Hyunwoo stumbles off the ground while Tangy tries to comfort him, saying he fought well. Hyunwoo says it doesn't matter if he thought well since he didn't win. Dakin approaches, stating that he didn't say he had to beat him in order to pass the test. All he needed to do was prove himself. He says that he has done this with his relentless determination to fight until the very end. He has proved himself and passed the test. As a reward for passing the test, he receives an item known as Dakin's necklace. He also gets a notification that the raccoon will now appear. Their celebration is interrupted by something crashing down, which shocks Hyunwoo and his pet. We see the man known as Raccoon. Despite his name, he is no raccoon and is quite the opposite. Large and menacing, he is even scarier than Dakin. Dakin informs Raccoon that Hyunwoo has came here today to deliver a necklace to him that he found. This information comes as a shock to Raccoon, who grabs a hold of Hyunwoo and begins shaking him, asking for the necklace. Not wanting to piss him off, Hyunwoo hands it over immediately. The necklace belongs to a guy named Cancun. Still angry for some reason, Raccoon screams at the top of his lungs, asking for this Cancun person to be brought to him immediately. Dakin approaches the ferocious beast and asks him to calm down. We get the backstory of the necklace and why it is so important. Cancun is Raccoon's son and the future chief of the tribe. However, he hated Raccoon's hardcore training and had a habit of running away. To counter this, he was forced to wear a necklace that could track his location and summon him at any time. It had a spell that made him unable to remove it, but someone helped him break out of it. Thus he was able to run away for good. And what do you know? The person who broke the spell turns out to be Hyunwoo's pet Tangy. Completely ignoring the story, Hyunwoo is just impressed that Tangy is even able to do something like that. He thought he was just able to provide buffs. Raccoon apologizes to his guests for getting so angry and says he will reward them properly for bringing him the necklace. He gains a lot of experience and new skills, one of which is a magic condensation skill that increases his magic powers. It's a unique and amazing skill. Magic skills are the most sought after in this game. Raccoon leaves our protagonist with one final quest, if he sees his son Cancun on his travels, to tell him that his home is in the Black Forest. Excited about already receiving another quest, Hyunwoo shakes the hand of Raccoon, telling him to leave it to him. He can handle it no problem. Raccoon also reveals that there was no spell on the necklace in the first place and it was just used as a placebo effect. Tangy gets annoyed when he realizes this means he doesn't actually have a spell-breaking skill. Later, back in the real world, Hyunwoo is woken up by his friend. After playing so much of the arena, he is exhausted and can't even differentiate between real life and online anymore, thinking that Youngchin is there to give him a quest. Youngchin gives our protagonist good news. First, his video from earlier blew up, gaining 172,000 views. Second, he got an email from Nike management who are interested in him. Nike is a large fashion enterprise that's recently started to dip its toes in arena streaming. As of now, they're the #1 company for management. The company wants to scout our protagonist and he is in complete shock at this information. It has only been a week since he has returned to this game. Youngchin shows Hyunwoo the contract that Nike has offered and offers to call them back for him. What a good friend. Back at Nike headquarters, the business department handle the contract. Tail shows the contract to his boss stating that Hyunwoo has settled on the username AliBoss. But Kale likes to call him Mr. G. Jamie is the Nike management representative, and the person Kale is talking to. He thinks Kale is joking with the nickname Mr. G. Abbreviated, it comes to MG, which is the same initials as Melee God. A name Jamie knows well. There's no way he is going to forget the top-ranked player from 2 years ago. Jamie looks out the office window, unable to believe they were able to recruit such a big shot. After 2 years away, the great Melee God has returned to the arena. This will truly shake up the entire game. We see Hyunwoo celebrating with Youngchin. After only a week, he has been able to completely turn his life around just by gaming. Back in the game, Hyunwoo heads to the auction house, sorting his items between what he wants to sell and what he wants to keep. After selling the items he got from the party he killed and the Black Skull Guild, he ended up with 51,000 gold and a pair of shoes. He also received a necklace from Dakin's quest, which he almost forgot about. This item increases every single stat while in battle. The stats are no joke. If Hyunwoo combines all of the items he has gotten so far, his stats are around the same as a level 60 user. Since he is only level 32 now, he thinks it would be nice if he could just get a unique weapon with his leftover gold. The most important thing to him right now is attack power. Things like defense penetration don't hold much merit for him. It's not going to be easy trying to get a unique grade weapon with only 5,000 gold. To his surprise, he manages to find one at the auction. A dwarf's sword made by a golden hammer dwarf for only 1,000 gold. Realizing this is a fantastic deal, our protagonist jumps at the opportunity to purchase this item. Elsewhere in the auction house, the scene cuts to a player with a baffled look on his face. He is the Black Skull Guild master named Suron. It was him who listed the sword for sale, and it is revealed that he accidentally missed a zero from the price, meaning it was supposed to be 10,000 gold. He isn't happy and yells at a woman next to him, telling her to find out who bought the sword and to bring him that person at once. Hyunwoo just leaves the auction house happy about his new weapon. There are 3 days until he signs the contract with Nike and he wants to become stronger by then. He remembers the coin he received from Khan back in the class tower that gave him a quest that he remembers has a good reward. He decides that it is probably a good idea to do this quest. Walking down the street, he stretches his body. He needs to head to an estate in a place called Yusma and wonders how much a teleportation scroll is going to cost him. He heads to this place called Yusma ready to do his quest that requires him to meet a famous knight named Lebron. He approaches the front gate to a giant mansion. Understandably, the Empire's strongest knight is living on a completely different level to everyone else. The guards refuse to let Hyunwoo enter until he shows them the coin he received. The guards don't argue and let him pass. The guards tell him that he can find the person he is looking for in the training hall at the center of the estate. All the other people watch him enter in disbelief. Many of them even try to sneak in along with our protagonist, saying they are in a party together. Thinking about it, Hyunwoo has never seen a video of Lebron before, so he decides to hit record so he can capture this moment. When he reaches the location, he sees a well-built man sitting on the floor with his legs crossed and eyes closed. Even with his eyes closed, the man senses our protagonist and asks if he is the one who came on behalf of Khan's recommendation. The man is Lebron, and it's been a long time since an adventurer has sought him out, and if Khan has recommended our protagonist, then he must be skilled. He asks if Hyunwoo is here to test his strength, but Hyunwoo states he is just here to complete the quest. A sword fight reveals more about a person than 1,000 words. Lebron wants to know if Hyunwoo is up to the test and throws him a wooden sword. Hyunwoo becomes a little annoyed. It seems like he has to fight everyone he meets just to prove his skill. Lebron says if he impresses him, he will teach him some new skills. The two clash swords as the fight begins, and Lebron begins to analyze our protagonist to see his strength. Each strike is full of power and his technique is unique. He even makes use of his feet. LeBron knows that most knights wouldn't be able to take our protagonist. However, in the end he only rewards Hyunwoo 50 points and knocks him backwards. There have been around 10 challengers so far and none of them have scored higher than 50. LeBron begins to think that maybe Hyunwoo is just the same as the others. Knowing he can't win, Hyunwoo just says that he is going to do whatever he can as he runs at LeBron using a dashing skill. LeBron blocks the attack, but someone using a dash at that distance came as a surprise to him. While in midair, Hyunwoo appears behind the famous knight ready to deal a devastating blow. He slashes his sword aiming straight for LeBron's neck as he lands on the floor. LeBron is impressed. He was bold enough to try a dangerous attack even whilst knowing the difference in their skill levels. Not only that, but the attack was also done in midair. He awards our protagonist 80 points for his effort. Hyunwoo stands ready to hear what skills he is going to learn for passing the test. But LeBron informs him that the test isn't over and there is more. He tells our protagonist to get into position and prepare to do his best, with a smile on his face as he sees talent inside Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo appears unimpressed when he realizes the test was to balance some food on his head without dropping it. LeBron shakes his hand, acknowledging that he has great skill. Among the 9 other people that have challenged him, Hyunwoo has by far been the best. After completing his quest and impressing LeBron, Hyunwoo receives a bunch of notifications, showing that he has earned experience and even a new title. Known as the Rising Star, the effect increases all his stats by 10%. He also receives a skill book which knocks him back when he opens it. The book gives him the skill Master of Combat, which increases all stats by a further 10% during battle. 2 10% stat increases is a 20% in total, and Hyunwoo cannot believe it. LeBron says goodbye, but Hyunwoo doesn't want to leave. He feels like this isn't enough and wants this quest to keep going. He asks LeBron if there is anything he can do for him. LeBron actually does have something he can do and gives him a new quest. A lot of undead have appeared in Southern Briggs and His Majesty suspects magicians are behind it. LeBron wants Hyunwoo to investigate the situation for him. Looking at the quest he just received, Hyunwoo sees that its grade is MS, which stands for Main Scenario. Main Scenario quests are fundamental quests pertaining to the arena storyline that affects the entirety of the game. LeBron warns that the magicians may specialize in necromancy and psychic magic, so he should be on guard and careful not to be deceived. Hyunwoo is proud of himself. At only level 33 he is already out here completing main scenario quests. Back at the auction house, Suron is still unhappy about his lost sword, angrily shaking his guild members asking why they haven't found it yet. Hyunwoo passes by this scene and wonders what is going on. After realizing that the person Suron is looking for is him, he decides to stay quiet. He also notices from the marking on their armor that these guys are from the Black Skull Guild. He can't seem to get a break from these guys. He logs off and removes the headset, returning back to the real world. Even though he is in the real world, he still thinks about the game, wondering what the best way to do his new quest would be and how he should deal with the Black Skull Guild. Youngchin enters the room telling our protagonist that he has prepared some food for him. After hearing about the problems Hyunwoo is having with the guild, he suggests that he uploads a video provoking them. A declaration of war posted on the arena community board would make it visible to the public, and the guild wouldn't be able to ignore it. Doing this will also gain Hyunwoo more publicity. His friend's idea is genius and he knows it. He smiles with food around his mouth, saying that he is going to defeat the whole guild all by himself. The next day the declaration of war is posted on the community board, and a fuss occurs at the Black Skull Guild headquarters. They watch the video that is going viral. Hyunwoo talks about Junwoo of the Black Skull Guild and how he made him delete his character and start over twice. He has decided that he is going to do whatever it takes to get all the other guild members to delete their characters as well. There are only 15 executive members in the guild and Hyunwoo has already defeated 2 of them. He challenges all the remaining ones to a character deletion bet whilst waving his sword around. Suron is furious. Not only is this guy attacking his guild, but he is also the person who ended up buying his sword for cheap. He tells his assistant to gather the other executive guild members. He is going to beat this player to a pulp. The war between Hyunwoo and the Black Skull Guild has officially begun. A meeting is summoned between the members of the guild, where everyone sits around a large table and discusses what they know about this new player that has recently challenged them. His username is AliBoss and he is around level 30. However, seeing that he was able to take down 2 executives by himself, the guild believe that he is hiding something. They conclude that the character deletion bets he proposed are too risky. Even if they win, there is no benefit to them in taking part. It would probably be better just to ignore it. Suron is engulfed in rage though. The thought of ignoring such a thing makes him sick to the stomach and he starts yelling. They need to uphold the reputation of the guild. And this little punk took his dwarf sword as well. Someone suggests that they hold a date for the duel and then all of them can just gang up on the kid and beat him up together. Suron begins to seriously consider this until a woman shows up calling him pathetic. She is the World Guild acting captain named Yoongu. The thought of an entire guild ganging up on a level 30 player is ridiculous. The Black Skull Guild are in shock and wonder why the guild acting captain has traveled all the way here. She tells a guy named Chialgu to come over to her. Then she proceeds to punch him in the stomach. Apparently he monopolized the dungeon without reporting it and her patience is running thin. Yoongu then directs her attention towards Suron. She tells him to record a video in response and proceed with the duel that was offered. He should handle this with dignity. The weak will naturally be eaten by the strong. She expects the Black Skull Guild to survive in their battle and defeat this player known as Ali Boss once and for all. Part 1 ends here. With enough support I will make a part 2, so make sure to like the video and comment the word arena. Thanks so much for watching and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next video.